Now, for our feature presentation.
Hello and welcome back to another episode. Holy shit.
That's what you're going for. I'm sorry.
It's okay. 3, 2, 1. Not bad.
I might have been a little early.
It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. Yes. And yes. Hello and welcome back to another episode of How About This Movie. Today we are finishing Lethal Weapon. The fourth and final video. The fourth and final movie. At the end we will do a little synopsis on the series as a whole.
It's been a long, hard road.
It's been a pretty moderate road. I mean, they were all at least decent to watch.
Yeah.
Shout out for Lethal Weapon 4 goes to the same man who got the shout out for the entire series, Abel. Go follow Abel at A is for Abel.
You nerd.
He got the first 2 Lethal Weapon movies within 90 seconds of us uploading the hint. So I just, we decided he earned the shout out for the whole series.
Because he's such a nerd.
Oh, and Lethal Weapon came out in 1998. I didn't put that in at the, where I usually do.
Lethal Weapon 4 came out in 1990.
That's what I meant. Not the other one. This one. Lethal Weapon 4 came out in 1998.
Which is this episode.
Which is this one that we're doing now. That we're about to start, kind of have started, or talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson.
Yes.
Who was in this movie and who directed it?
Director was Richard Donner, once again.
Once again.
For the fourth time. Stars, for the fourth time, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Joe Pesci and Rene Russo reprised their roles. And then they introduced Chris Rock, who was in The Longest Yard and Head of State. Both pretty funny movies. Jet Li gets introduced as one of the bad guys. He was in The One and Fearless, among other movies. And then Kim Chan played Uncle Benny.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah. He was in Fifth Element and 16 Blocks. So.
Did not know he was in Fifth Element.
Yep.
And I have never seen 16 Blocks.
Me either. I figured it was interesting enough to write down. Or type down.
Yeah, type down.
Yeah. Put down in my notes.
Put down.
Basically.
The hot dogs.
No, hot dogs are delicious.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You're forgiven.
Oh, okay, good.
What's the storyline of this movie?
China.
The storyline is China?
Yeah.
The rise and fall of the Ming Dynasty.
Yep.
Mm.
Specifically, the 4 heads of the triad.
The four
Triad?
fathers.
The 4 fathers of the triad gang. I didn't fucking write it.
We didn't make the rules.
Yeah. Jesus.
The 4 heads of the triad. Continue.
Being smuggled into the United States. And wouldn't you know, somehow Riggs and Murtaugh are at the middle of a crime that is way above their pay grade once again.
In a Lethal Weapon movie?
Crazy.
No.
Crazy.
Happen upon it when doing dumb shit.
They're night boating.
They were night boating,
Mm.
and the Chinese smuggling vessel, which is quite a large ship, which makes sense. It's a long distance to travel and you're smuggling.
Mm.
It should be like a cargo ship. Makes sense. But it basically crashed right into them.
From a fire and a bunch of stuff happened up on board.
Riggs used a laser pointer on his weapon in a way that is completely impossible, but nonetheless amazing.
Reflected off of a matte surface. That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I also like that it not only did it reflect off a matte surface, if you shoot this is the trajectory your bullet will follow, which is still not how a laser sight works, even if it could reflect off that surface that it couldn't have reflected off of. It just kind of, it's fine.
Not only that, but the bullet also deflected off of that surface, which wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. There's a... Take that, motherfucker. There's a fun little nod to how Riggs and Murtaugh always end up doing stuff above their pay grade with Lorna. Is that Rene Russo's character name? Lorna asking if he goes looking for... or why Trouble always goes looking for him.
It just always knows where I am.
It just generally knows where I am. So I thought that was pretty funny. Just like, yeah, it is a little bit weird, But, that's the general layout of the plot.
You don't have to be a good cop if you're lucky.
It's true. And you don't have to be lucky if you're a halfling. Sorry, you can cut that out.
Fucking nerd.
You're just really calling people nerds today. Do you need to talk about something?
I'm surrounded by nerds.
Including herself.
Including herself.
There's 3 nerds in this room.
Yeah.
And she's surrounded by 2 of them.
Is there somebody else in here?
Oh, we have the place surrounded. Yeah, I mean, any other specific thoughts you guys would like to add about the plot of the movie?
Well, Murtaugh finds a group of them in the boat. That's pretty significant to the plot.
Yes.
Because it leads to them almost getting killed.
Yes.
Their house being burned down.
Yes. A specific group of the smuggled in Chinese... Immigrants. I was going to say refugees. I wasn't sure if that was the right term. Murtaugh keeps at his house. And it just so happens that that specific group were brought here as kind of a favor to the guy that was helping the triad make the counterfeit money.
The funny money.
The funny money.
Or the faces. Well, that's why it's funny.
Mm-hmm. That's basically the gist of the plot.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
So
It's another Lethal Weapon movie, and it is, with all due respect, it is another Lethal Weapon sequel where the plot doesn't make as much sense as it could have. It's more about just, like, being outlandish than it is about being, like, a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's a bad story. I enjoyed the movie, and I felt like the plot made as much sense as any of the other sequels.
There's no bathtub. And they don't directly interfere with the bomb?
If I remember correctly, there's no bathroom scene at all. So, I mean, that's cool.
That's true.
That's strides.
We should mention the very first scene of the movie happens like months before the actual movie.
Yeah.
And it's full of exposition.
Yeah, it's just to, like, set the stage, really.
Yeah. Which is very uncharacteristic of all the other Lethal Weapon movies.
Yeah.
And I like how they know the facts about, like, each other. Like, you're going to have a baby. Well, you're going to be a grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird.
It's funny, though. Like, oh, your daughter's pregnant, and I know. Oh,
Yeah.
well, your wife's pregnant, and I know.
Yeah.
It was a plot vehicle for exposition. That's pretty much all it was.
Which...
Well, it makes sense because, the wives would talk and then tell their husbands, but the husbands wouldn't talk because men don't do that.
Apparently.
At least in the 90s, so.
Yeah.
Or they're just like, oh my gosh, did you hear? And then you're not allowed to tell them because your wife told you.
Yeah. Both very valid thoughts. That exposition scene was pretty great, though, because that dude was just firing a fucking assault rifle and a flamethrower. Like, I would have played that character. I mean, not in 1998, because I was 4.
There's no storyline attached to him.
No.
He was just there.
No.
And then he was gone.
I bet you that one scene was the most expensive scene of the movie.
Right? It had to have been up there.
Yeah.
To be fair, there couldn't be that much storyline tied to him because he was blown up by the fuel tanker. Yeah. But I also think that he kind of played a part in the losing the insurance because
Well,
they're too expensive subplot. There's a lot of irons in the proverbial fire in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance, so they get promoted to captain, but they still do all the same stuff they did when they were sergeants. The counterfeit money that plays in with the triads, the overall smuggling, like, there was a lot.
There's a lot of
It wasn't
balls in
muddy.
the air.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was all intertwined well enough, but it was just kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Pregnant wife, pregnant daughter. The fact that the daughter's hiding
Who the dad is?
her marriage.
No, not wife.
Pregnant girlfriend.
Pregnant girlfriend.
Excuse me.
Where the boyfriend doesn't want to get married.
Yeah.
That was a point of the plot.
Yes. I apologize.
It's okay.
Daughter being pregnant and not telling her dad who it's with.
Yeah.
Not telling her dad that she got married.
Yeah.
This was a very close, like an uncomfortably close family who had very open communication about a lot of things that were illegal, but then all of a sudden you're going to flip it and not tell him just because you're not sure that he'll approve of you marrying a cop.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, what's he going to do? You're already married.
Yeah.
What is the point of hiding it other than to just make it funny that fucking Murtaugh thought Chris Rock was gay?
Well, I'll tell you. Originally, Chris Rock's character was not in the script. And then after the script was more than 70% written, Chris Rock was written into the script as a gay guy. And then they trashed that idea and just were like, oh, just have him be married to Rihanna. Rihanna? Yeah, just have him be married to Rihanna. So, that's why that doesn't make any sense. It's because they just kept trying different things. And eventually they just had to be like, well, fuck it. The movie's got to be made. Let's go. So that's why it doesn't really make that much sense.
Makes sense.
Yep. Makes sense that doesn't make sense.
Exactly. But, you know, they did their best. They added Chris Rock and tried to juice up the franchise. Wasn't a huge fan of his character.
I heard it made some money, though.
It did.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Tyson?
Well, the movie itself cost $140 million to make.
It's a lot of
So,
money.
like,
It's
the
a lot
most
of money.
expensive Lethal Weapon movie by far.
They did have a lot more people to pay.
Yes. Opening weekend didn't do so hot. Did about as well as all the other Lethal Weapon movies. Made $34 million opening weekend. Total worldwide gross $285 million.
So not as much as the third one.
Yeah. Third one, which made 10 times its budget. This one only made twice its budget. So.
Which I think is why just kind of let it peter out and die. Also, 4 movies is a lot of movies. Like, to bring back the same characters and the same stories over and over again.
They did a really good job of keeping the continuity between all of the movies.
Yeah. But and I do wonder if, like, the addition of Chris Rock was to kind of possibly
Offshoot.
carry on a torch of some sort, but I mean, that's a lot of movies. Like, I feel like it's a lot of movies, especially for, like, the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But I mean, even now, that seems like a lot of movies to make. Like, other than other than, like, extended cinematic universes like superhero stories or, like, books that have to be told over multiple stories, you don't see movies go to the 4 movie run.
No.
Or stay to the 4 movie run and still stay good. Like the Fast and Furiouses, those got wonky.
Yeah.
Even in just the third, the storyline got wonky. Whereas Lethal Weapon did not.
I liked Die Hard 4, but it wasn't really all that good. And Die Hard 5 was a pile of shit. And I liked Rambo 4. Rambo 3 and 2 were piles of shit, but they were enjoyable action movies, over-the-top action movies. And Rambo 5 sucked ass.
So the consistency along the 4 movies is hard to do.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the examples you used with Die Hard and Rambo span a much longer time period than the Lethal Weapon movies did.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, this is what, 16 years?
This is
11
11
years.
years, yeah.
Is that 87? Yeah.
Yeah.
So 11 years. But, like, the last Die Hard movie came out in, like, 2009? And the first one came out in 92?
I think so, yeah.
So that's 17.
Yeah.
And Rambo, like, the 80s to, like, the mid-2010s. Or, like, pretty recently, the last Rambo came out.
Yeah, the last Rambo came out, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And the Rambo before that was, like, 10 years before.
Yeah. So they've spanned, like, a lot more time than the Lethal Weapon movie did.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, 11 years is a relatively long time,
Yeah.
but they've parsed out their sequels over a couple decades.
Yeah. Mission Impossibles are still good.
Yeah,
I think
that's
the
a
sixth
good
just
one.
came out, and it's still good.
Yeah.
How many oceans were there?
4? I think there was 4 or 5. I don't remember. I didn't like them.
Tyson didn't like them.
I wanted to watch the Lady Ocean.
I want to watch the Ocean's movies. But yeah, I do just kind of want to applaud Lethal Weapon 4 for making 4 movies that are all... The first Lethal Weapon is no contest the best movie.
Yeah.
But 2, 3, and 4, I would put all right in the same...
Yeah, they're
Basic.
still good and enjoyable to watch.
Yeah. So I just wanted to applaud Lethal Weapon, the team, for making 4 movies that are all good enough to where you're like, yeah, you probably should have just fucking ended it.
Mm-hmm.
Continuity and consistency
Yeah.
are key.
Yep.
Tyson, what was your favorite scene in this movie?
I gotta say probably the end fight scene with Riggs Murtaugh against Jecll's character.
You're just brute forcing it.
Yeah. It was good, nicely choreographed.
I liked watching that scene in the group where we were just enjoying the scene all together and just talking about how you have to take on situations like that.
That's what I was thinking as soon as he said that. I was thinking the same thing. That was my favorite part of the movie, was us breaking down that scene as it was happening.
In mostly D&D terms. Mostly my fault.
Nerd.
What was your favorite scene in this movie?
I really liked the Froggy Fresh scene.
That's good. That's good.
Did you not like my reference to Froggy Fresh?
I mean, it's fine. You're doing your best.
I liked when Riggs went to go visit his wife, and then you get an additional layer to Joe Pesci.
Yeah, his character's been pretty criminally underdeveloped.
Yeah, you get one tone where he's the accountant, then he's the realtor, then he's the PI. Even though he's all of those things, he's only one tone of Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit of backstory and a little bit of friendship.
Yeah.
Just some magic going in that scene.
Something to acknowledge that there is a reason that they keep hanging around each other, because all you see on camera is them just shitting on each other. Mostly them shitting on Leo.
They did invite him to go fishing, though, even though he was going to shoot down into the boat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just good sailing right there.
Let me shoot the shark that's on our boat straight down. Yeah, what about you?
I mean, I think the exposition scene with the flamethrower and the machine gun. Dude's just taking bullets to the face and it's not doing nothing to him with his bulletproof arm.
Dax is at the very beginning of the movie and I'm at the very end of the movie. Tyson's right here.
I think that was... Well, Tyson's scene was the final... the final climactic shot. So I'm at the beginning and he's right here and you're right here.
That's what I just said.
Well, I thought you were...
Daxon's at the beginning, I'm at the end, Tyson's right here.
No, he's right here and you're right there. You're doing this.
No, because you're up here.
Yeah, but you're...
And I'm right here, and Tyson's right here.
No, but he's right here and you're right here and I'm right here.
I'm actually right here. Dax is right here and you're right there.
Man, just don't listen to what you're saying, even though you're saying the same thing.
What are you saying?
What?
Exactly.
So what you're saying? Let's.
No, let's move on.
Frog. No, I'm just kidding.
Friggity fresh.
Yeah, I just thought that scene was kind of badass. He's burning down buildings. He's getting blown up. He's taking bullets to the face. He's fucking blasting his Walkman like a goddamn G.
A lot of other good
He's
scenes
listening
is
to
when
Kiss.
Murtaugh and the Chinese family were like bonding.
That was pretty cute.
But like, I'm thinking the entire time that they're like conning him
Sleeper
somehow.
agents.
Just like they're gonna wake up in the middle of the night, everything's gonna be gone or something. Like I was just suspicious the entire time.
I mean, that would have been fine because his wife's a super rich smut author now. So
It's true.
Should I start writing smut?
whatever's gonna make you super rich. Honestly, I don't care at this point. I just need someone to pay my bills.
Smut isn't a very lucrative business, I don't think. Unless you're like,
Tell that
50
to
Shades of
50
Grey.
Shades of Grey.
If you
Like-
look at like the book section of any store that you go to, like any grocery store or whatever that has a book section, it's like half romance novels.
It's true.
but like whenever I'm on my Nook and I look at all the free books, it's all smut. It's all just free smut. There's so much free smut on your ebooks.
There is, according to my wife, the Smut Lord.
It's my street name.
What would you
Smut
score
Lord.
this movie, and would you recommend it?
Probably along the same lines as like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. It's a good watch with your friends.
So is that yeah, you'd recommend it?
Yeah, it's a good watch with your friends. So I
Okay.
recommend it.
Sweet. Okay, I was just asking. Because you didn't say the words. I was just clarifying. Jesus.
Rude.
But I just wrote hi.
I know.
Trying to make me look bad on the internet.
Yeah, you called me smut lord.
Well, you are a Smut Lord. Tyson, what would you score this movie, and would you recommend it?
I'm with Carly on this one. 6.5 out of 7. And I
Out of
would
7.
recommend it.
6
6.5 out of 7.
Yeah.
That's a high
That's
recommendation.
very good.
Almost perfect. Almost perfect. 6.5 to 7 out of 10.
Yes.
But yeah, I would recommend it.
I'm just a little bit lower. I would say like a 6 to 6.5 out of 7. Out of 10. But I would still recommend it. I would, I mean, especially if you just watch Lethal Weapon 1 and you stop at Lethal Weapon, you're probably fine. But if you watch Lethal Weapon 2, you might as well watch Lethal Weapon 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've learned from this experience. Like, Lethal Weapon is a classic. It's a treasure. And if you don't go on, you're not really missing out.
You get the gist of the rest of the movies from that film.
But,
Like the general idea.
yeah. But if you watch 2, go ahead and just keep the train rolling and watch 3 and 4.
Just might as well finish the series out. Just binge it.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a-
one television series on Netflix.
It's a good
Just do
quick
it.
8 hours or so, and then you're done.
Mm-hmm. You can knock that out in a work day.
Yeah. Just call in, watch all of the Lethal Weapon movies back to back to back to back to back. Order a pizza. Order a second pizza. And then,
Or just binge it like
Go
you
to
do
bed.
when you're on your couch alone because you're a lonely person.
It's true.
can't relate. I don't ever use my couch.
You're literally just on the couch watching TV.
We were watching YouTube, actually.
Which is millennial TV. Fun facts?
Fun facts. Jet Li's part was originally offered to Jackie Chan, but he turned it down because he does not play villains.
That's a lie. He was an extra on Enter the Dragon.
Where he was
and
a
got
bad
his
guy.
neck broken by Bruce Lee.
Yep. So he's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
touched on this a little bit already. Chris Rock added way later. Joe Pesci was also added way later. So a theme with Joe Pesci. He's not added until near the end of the scriptwriting process, which is also probably why we never get that much information about the character Leo gets until he gives that beautiful speech about Froggy.
That just breaks your heart.
It's very, very heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Like,
We were all in tears.
Yep.
We were all bawling.
I definitely didn't think it was mostly cringeworthy.
it's really just a story about how loving other people doesn't mean that you love others less.
It's true.
It is true. That is true. But them being added so late might kind of point to why some of their stuff felt a little bit forced.
Could you imagine being Joe Pesci and you're just like waiting for your call to say that you're like on the job until like a week before they start shooting?
He made
like,
$1 million for 3 weeks worth of work to be in this movie.
well, it's because they had him waiting so long. Just be like a week before shooting. Oh, by the way, we need you on set. Like, Jesus.
And the ending was not finished. It was still being written while the movie was in production.
They had 2 pregnant people in the script and they didn't know how it was going to end.
Yeah, I would have ended it with them still being pregnant.
They're just perpetually pregnant.
Yeah, and then when I made the sequel 30 years later,
They're still pregnant.
they're still pregnant. But that's why I'm not in charge of movies. And I couldn't make the sequel anymore because of... So, we're going to switch
certain
gears.
Things.
This is where we would normally end the podcast. But we're going to do a little bit more talking about Lethal Weapon, the series as a whole. I feel like we peppered that in throughout.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of a little bit more. Wrap it up, and then we'll sign off.
All right, let's get this bow going.
Bow?
Because you're wrapping it up in a bow.
Oh. Clever. You got a boyfriend?
No.
You got a husband?
Yep.
It's me. So we kind of touched on it already. Do you guys feel like this is a series that is necessary to watch all 4, or one that you can just kind of just watch the first one and then be done with it?
I guess it depends on like personal preference. I like to watch all 4 of them. Not necessarily in one sitting, but like in a row.
Yeah.
Definitely. But like you said before, if you just watch Lethal Weapon, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like you've seen the best of the Lethal Weapon movies.
I would just watch 3. Not even start with 1 or 2.
I mean, realistically, with this kind of movie, you basically could.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just an extended part of the first movie. Like, you get the gist of it, like I said, if you just watch the first one. It's basically just like a TV series. You just get another episode with a similar plot, and then another episode with a similar plot, and another episode with a guest appearance.
Yeah, I mean, you could watch 16 seasons of SVU, so you could probably watch 4 movies of Lethal Weapon.
Same thing.
Well, the Lethal Weapon series was kind of shit.
Yeah.
There was a Lethal Weapon series?
Yes.
Yeah. It makes doing research for the Lethal Weapon movies take a little bit longer, too, because they keep bringing up bullshit. Some shite TV series that lasted, like, 1/2 of a fucking season.
Mm-hmm.
What would you guys rate the series overall out of 10?
7 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good series, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, and I think for all, like, Lethal Weapon does the heavy lifting. It's got the best story. It's got the best writing as far as, like, consistency. It's got the best acting. It's the best. It's not the best made movie of the 4, but that's also just going to happen with higher budgets and more advancements in filmmaking technology.
I think the first one was a little bit darker and took itself more seriously.
I agree.
Like, the Riggs being, like, suicidal kind of just goes away because he has rigs. So then it's just like comedy ensues from there.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as dark. There's some essence in the second one when he realized that his wife was killed because of him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it. It's definitely not as dark.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about sequels being bad for movies. Do you guys think this would have been better if they just made Lethal Weapon and didn't make the sequels? Or do you think this is a case where the sequels are okay?
Well, the sequels made a shitload of money.
Yes.
So from a financial standpoint...
From a financial standpoint, great.
Yeah.
But from a storytelling standpoint...
I think they could have left it at 1, personally. And it would have been a classic, survive through the ages. You know? It would have been like, oh, Lethal Weapon, one of the best buddy cop movies ever made. Still is.
It still is, yeah.
But you mention Lethal Weapon 1, and people think of really the whole series.
Yeah, you mentioned Lethal Weapon, and it gives people an opportunity to kind of muddy the waters with everything else that was done.
Yeah. That's not to say that 2, 3, and 4 are bad.
No, because they're definitely not
good.
bad.
Yeah.
But
just not as good as
it
1.
is a noticeable step down from 1 to the sequels.
Yeah.
I think the way they did the first one definitely opened it up to do sequels in a good way. Whereas there are other movies where they tie it off. They're like, okay, happily ever after, it's good. And then they try to make a sequel and try and tie it in. And that is difficult. But I think they ended in a good note with the first one, where it was just open to continue the story.
Well, I do think that there is a little bit of that where, like, you can go too far in wrapping up the story. But I think that it's more important to tell the story of the movie in the time that you allot yourself than it is to open the door for sequels. Like, not close, like you're saying, like how some movies just wrap everything up and then you don't know how you'd make a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily like what a lot of movies are doing now, where it's like a third of the story or a quarter of the movie is like setting up the sequel.
Yeah. So it's like you don't get a resolution in the first movie. You have to wait to the second movie to get the resolution. For
Like,
this one, you get a resolution of sorts, but it's just at a good note, but you could continue on.
So before I diverge to another point that's probably going to get cut out of the episode, I do think that this is a movie that could have been left at 1, or a series that could have been left at 1, and I do think that it probably would have been better for the overall lore surrounding the movie, but I don't think that it was a mistake to make 3 more. They made a ton of money for a lot of people, and they made 3 more enjoyable movies. The Fantastic Beasts series. The second movie in the Fantastic Beasts series is just to set up the next movie. Mm-hmm. Sorry, spoiler alert.
That's fine. I'm probably not going to see after 1.
Yeah. They should, first of all, they should have left it at 1. Second of all, they should have just extended, if they were going to do sequels, 1 by like 45 minutes, and then 2 by 45 minutes, and shifted some stuff. Because there's nothing that and that's like the prime example. Because that movie is just to set up the next movie. You couldn't watch the next one without watching it, because it would make no sense. But it's also fucking horrible.
It's just the first half of a movie.
Yeah. It's terrible. And that's like what you don't want out of a sequel, is a movie that's just telling the next story or setting up the next story.
I will say on the reverse side of that coin, the last 2 Avenger movies, Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War was better than Endgame.
Yeah.
But it's still
Half
like a
of the
setup for Endgame.
Yeah.
It's 2 halves of 1 movie, basically.
Yeah.
But I feel like those movies were great.
Yes. But you're right. It is like 2 halves to 1 movie.
Yeah. You have to do it right.
Yeah, exactly. If it's executed properly, then it's not such a negative. But
But at least stuff happens in Infinity War. Nothing happens in the Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm being a weirdo. Yeah, I mean, anything else you guys want to talk about the overarching Lethal Weapon series? Not the TV series, though.
Yeah, no, not the TV series.
Will you stop fucking yawning?
Will you suck my asshole?
No, it would be disgusting.
What we really get to see is the decline of the mullet, really.
Yeah. It's pretty heartbreaking. I do think there's a lot of secondary and like tertiary characters that like seem like set up to be like really important, and then they're just not. Like the psychiatrist, the police psychiatrist, like she really like could have been this great story element that could have been implemented throughout the series, and then she just got turned into this running joke where she'd have one scene where it would just be a huge joke, and then that was it.
They could have used her for a lot of the exposition on what was going on with Riggs and why he didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
That could have been a tool.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
And there's, in the scene where they turn her into a joke in this movie, it's a setup for that. Like, why he's trying to talk to her, and then she blows up on him because everything else has been a joke with him for the last 11 years. And so, I mean, that's kind of, not necessarily a missed opportunity, but just a different way that the character could have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, with Leo, every time he's written into the movie, it's last minute. So you don't really get to explore Leo other than just being this fucking voice throughout. Like, I love Joe Pesci, and I enjoyed the character of Leo Getz. But, again, I feel like he's the third amigo. He's the third musketeer, and he's just there.
Mm-hmm.
The captain, same thing. Like, he has, like, 2 scenes in each movie. So, like, they didn't explore. And I get it, it's Lethal Weapon, it's about Riggs and Murtaugh. But some of those characters were, in my opinion, underutilized. Is that it? You guys good? Anything else you want to say about Lethal Weapon?
No.
No? No? Well, that is it then. That is all we've got. It's been
1 week since you looked at me.
4 movies, total runtime of 11 hours.
It's a long time.
4 episodes.
3 assholes.
I liked that. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this series breakdown. I don't think we'll always do them in order like this. I think it'll be more where like we'll watch one, then we'll watch another one, and then when we've finished the series at a later point, we'll kind of discuss all of them. But this was fun. I liked this a lot. You guys enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember to follow the social medias. Jecll Studios. JJJJJ. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That's how you spell Jecll, right?
Yep.
According to Daxton.
Are they soft J's?
We have about half our catalog, or a third of our catalog on Spotify.
We're missing about a year on Spotify.
But if you are new, you can start there and come to the video later. We're working on it, but you know it takes time, and since we didn't get started on the Spotify side until later, we're a little bit behind. But
and I didn't really want to just like start with like, okay, we have Spotify going now, so the episodes we're doing now are now on Spotify. I wanted to start from the beginning because I hate myself.
well, that's what I would have that's what I think we all would have done anyway. So I think that was the right call. But nonetheless, some of our episodes are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can find it there as well. Comment down below a series you would like us to do, or any sort of movie. Comment down below what your favorite Lethal Weapon movie is. Comment down below if you miss mullets. You know, I don't.
I used to have a mullet when I was a child.
My hair in high school is pretty reminiscent to Riggs' hair in this movie. Like, it's not far off. Like, I wouldn't consider myself of having a mullet, but it's pretty close, honestly.
What about Jet Li's beaver tail?
No. If you want a chance to win the shout-out, make sure to follow our Instagram and our Facebook. We post obscure pictures of the movie we were watching, and the first person to guess it gets a shout-out on the podcast. I think that's it. Is that everything? Like, comment, subscribe, bell, share. You know, all the stuff you do for things you like. And if you don't like it, go ahead and just fuck right off. There's nothing personal. We're not for everyone. But there's no need to be negative. Like, it doesn't serve you. Nothing is going to be better about your life after you're done being negative. That's it. That's all I've got. You guys good?
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching. And as always, if this were Hong Kong, you'd be dead already.